Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's Damon yet again, and this time I switch over to movies, like I was saying last time. And this time, I thought it'd be a good idea to review the movie I went to see 2 days ago at the movie theater, and it was Supergirls. That's right, I didn't go see it yesterday. I went to see it 2 days before, and I had low expectation going to see that movie. And even with low expectations, sadly enough, it still didn't match the low expectation I had for the movie. Now, granted, I'm not gonna say the movie's horrible. It's not. Like people say it's horrible. I've seen worse. Like it doesn't touch Catwoman. It doesn't touch Batman and Robin. It doesn't touch Elektra. Uh, so that you don't need to worry about. It's just to me the perfect definition of an okay movie, okay superhero movie, which I will not see, will not watch again ever again. Like there's some okay superhero movies that hey, if they're on TV, I would watch. Like for example, the original Daredevil, Fantastic Four 2005. These movies I'll rewatch. This one I won't. And I know I think it's stupid right away now that there's a feud because supposedly if you don't like this movie, you're a Snyder bro, and if you love this, you're gunning to this. How about you like whichever damn movie you want to like? How about that? I thought the movie was eh, and honestly, I feel like for a movie that's supposed to be the second big movie in the Guns version of the DCU, I thought it was kind of weak sauce. I mean, I just am tired. People were talking about that. I know people like Critical Drinker and Tyrone Magnus might think about super movie fatigue or something like this. No, it's about fatigue about movies that or universe that get reboot, restart. It's like how long has it been now? You know, I said last year when I reviewed Superman 2025, I liked the movie, but I didn't love it, and it felt like a mess at times. Now, David Corn Sweat was very good in the movie. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was the highlight of the movie, and especially the guy who does Jimmy, I don't remember his name, was excellent, hilarious, and the woman who Rachel Buchanan, I think was her name, who played Lois Lane, was very good, and Mr. Terrific. It's like the characters are all in place last year for a great movie, and it was just a eh. Last year was just a pleasant movie, but it felt too much in it. It felt Superman. It wasn't Superman 2025, but Superman and Justice Gang. Because it felt like last. It felt like a sequel to a movie we didn't get. That's what it felt. It felt like last Superman 2025 felt like a sequel that relied on the original. Heck, they even used reworked John Williams' original score for Superman 2025, which I felt was either lazy or lacking in courage. You know. But Supergirl, at least I think that movie was better than Supergirl. Supergirl, it felt like I know it's directed by Craig Gillespie. We did a great movie in I, Tonya. We did Cruella was pretty good. It was was basically it gave me the feeling of a Disney version of 2019's Joker's movie. That's how it felt, and it was still pretty good. I like Cruella. I didn't like this movie Supergirl as much because it didn't feel like a Craig Gillespie movie as much as it felt like a James Gunn movie. And I think also what I don't like is at least with the DCU or the MCU, not every movie is supposed to seem like it's fabricated by a same machine the same way. It feels like a director is interchangeable. No, movies felt different. Like for example, the Iron Man 1 and 2, at least Iron Man 1 felt like a redemption story, a movie about a person who's trying to redeem himself. And at the beginning of the MCU, the first two Ant-Man felt like ice movies. About Incredible Hulk, about a guy who's trying to basically keep his temper in check, was by Louis Leterrier, I think. Uh, Avengers, the people teaming up. Again, same different vibe. Kenneth Branagh's Store felt like a Shakespearean play with some comedy. Taiki Waititi, the first one, at least Thor Ragnarok, felt like an absurdist comedy with some action scenes, etc. There was different tones. It felt like different voices. DCU, the DCU makes me feel like it's James Gunn way or the highway. Like, I understand giving bullet points of what you wanted to happen. Like, I get it. Yeah, it has to be coherent, but it felt like it's not coherence that I'm afraid of in this. It's the fact that it has the same tone, and I'm afraid to see James Gunn and fingerprints all over Batman. I am afraid because I don't think it's gonna be a good movie. I feel like it'd be a ha ha he ha ha type of movie, and I don't want that, especially knowing that James Gunn harshly derided 89's Batman, probably Batman Returns and Batman Begins. I'm not sure what you said about The Dark Knight, but it's like it's still not a good sign that some of the best Batman movies ever he derided. I'm not even sure if he even liked the 2022. It's the Batman, but I know he said The Flash was one of his best movies ever, and look what happened. So maybe because there was a lot of humor in it. Maybe that's the reason why. And honestly, James Gunn to me is like the next coming of Josh Whedon. Like he doesn't know when you let a woman breathe before you go in the humors around. And humor is used sparingly, scarcely, I mean, or sparingly, sorry, sparingly. And I think that James Gunn can do this, and that movie basically, yeah, it was an okay movie, but get basically got an argument based on it's like you can't dislike the movie saying, see, you wanted to be a flop. No, you didn't. I didn't. I look forward to that movie. It was on my list to see this movie that was anticipated, this movie, and it was barely okay. Now, Damon, they cut 25 minutes out of the movie. I really doubt that movie that you cut 25 minutes all of a sudden will go from barely okay to awesome-tacular because 25 minutes more. I doubt it. So before I go into the rant, I'll just give up basically with the few positives I thought this movie had. Millie Hawcock. People got on her case. I felt like it was very a loser behavior for people basically bad-mouthing Millie or whatever uh, as an actress and ever for deriding an appearance basically before the movie hits the screen. That was stupid. That is so stupid. So loser behavior. She was a good Supergirl. Problem is, she was a good Supergirl with an unapproved, unproven script. So she did her acting well. I thought that Darren Cornsweet as Superman, I'm getting more and more used to him. He's not as good to me as Christopher Reeves or Henry Cavill, but he's great as a third best Superman to me. But I like the optimistic approach, and then sometimes this Boy Scout approach of Superman that I like. The suit still leaves a lot to be desired, though. And I like the chemistry between those two. And Lobo was good, but I still surprisingly think that Jason Momoa was better as Aquaman as Lobo. Lobo felt like, hey, remember the comics when this happened? Which seems to be James Gunn's entire style. Remember in the comics that I read, I want everything to be comic book accurate. Which goes into my cons, because right now there was basically the pros, the cons. James Gunn wants everything to be comic book accurate. Like he wants to make a movie about sorry, no, about this, Damien Al Ghul. And honestly, I always disliked the Damien Al Ghul character. I always felt like, a spoiled little shithead that you're gonna make a movie about. Like to me, it's the worst part of the Bat Family. It's like, my father is this. Like, dude, I don't want to hear this in a movie. I don't want to see this. Like he wants to do what's the dynamic duo movie? It's like there's a reason why maybe he doesn't like the Batman movies on screen because yeah, there's some humor, but it fits in the movie, which I think like bar James Gunn's Guardian of the Galaxy and to a lesser extent the Suicide Squad, his humor doesn't match up the tone it's supposed to be. And therein lies also the problem. James Gunn is gonna James Gunn. And James Gunn doesn't feel like giving other people control. And to be honest with you, I look at his film portfolio and I don't see James Gunn trying a new style. I don't see James Gunn trying a new genre movie. It's only superhero movies, bar Slither. And to me, it doesn't help for reputation, it doesn't help for somebody to grow as a director. Yeah, Zack Snyder did some horrible movies like Rebel Moon, Sucker Punch. He's to me the definition of hit or miss. But I don't see him doing only superhero movies, which kind of helps. If you take a step back, do another type of movie, then you go back to superhero movies because you actually can learn from the non-superhero movies, take what works, and maybe some of them you can integrate in your superhero movies. Yes, like I said, he did Sucker Punch, he did Rebel Moon movies, with both of them were awful, really awful. But he also did 300, Dawn of the Dead, Army of the Dead. And I would dare say that despite all of this, I see people complain and talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batman vs Superman. To me, his best super movie is still Watchmen. And this was a movie that could understand that he mostly adapted the comic, except the ending, which I felt was adapting to great respect because it's like if he took the ending of the comic book, it wouldn't make sense in a movie. He also did Man of Steel, which was pretty good, and I really liked it. Yeah, does it have its bad effect? Yeah. Does that, I mean, bad aspects? Yeah, it does, but still, I really liked it. And Batman vs Superman to me is the weakest of his three superhero movies he did for the DCEU. But still had great moments at the warehouse fights. Like he knows how to do fight scenes. But when he has to do more complicated story, he might be struggling a bit more. And then you have Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I really liked. Did I love it? No, but I really liked it. But same time, it's like, what is it with people like Snyder Bros cannot admit that something that James Gunn did were really good, and some gun enthusiasts cannot understand that. Hey, some things that James Gunn did, some things that Snyder did were really good. Like, why can't you just enjoy a movie for what it is, and regardless who's the director? That's what I do. But I think it's becoming like a feud with people. Like, I'm to me thinking to me, all I want is a good movie, and Supergirl ain't it. I said it wasn't terrible, but it was massively disappointing. Despite having low expectations. First of all, the tone's all over the place. Like sometimes it tries to basically say, "Oh, look, basically, Supergirl is getting drunk at every part of the movie," and I'm thinking, is she supposed to be Star-Lord? Like seriously, she got me some Star-Lord. I felt like this point. There's a reason why I joke of, "Hey, can't wait for Guardians of the Galaxy Part 4" because you get that vibe of it. And that's the one place where I feel like James Gunn is very good, writing some outfits, some outcasts, sorry, who are not well known to the mass population, mass audience, and make a movie about this. But if you take main superheroes, it fails. That approach failed with main superheroes. It worked for Guardian Galaxies because they were outcasts or misfits who banded together, and it helped that most people didn't know about them. It worked with Suicide Squad because he made sure not to pick big heroes. It worked with Peacemaker because he's part of the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad. It doesn't work with Superman. It wouldn't work with Batman. And with Supergirl, I don't think it worked. That's one of this. Also, here's it for people who talk about great movies. Okay, great superhero movies. I'm just gonna limit to that. Superman 1 and 2, TMNT 990, TMNT 2, could say that. Batman 89, Batman Returns, about The Crow, about Blade 1 and 2, about Spider-Man, the Raimi trilogy, about, sorry, I'm just looking, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, Sin City, Batman Begins, just doing in order. Uh, Iron Man, Dark Knight, Incredible Hulk, Hellboy 1 and 2, uh, sorry, Watchmen, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, Thor, the first one, America, first Avengers, despite my criticism of the movie, Dark Knight Rises, Dread, Kick-Ass 2, Man of Steel, Captain America, Winter Soldier, X-Men, Days of Future Past, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers 2, Ant-Man 1, Captain America, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, Thor Ragnarok, Wonder Woman, uh, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man the Wasp, Aquaman, Shazam, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home, Joker in a way. Uh, then we hit Spider-Man No Way Home, The Batman, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, TMNT Mutant Mayhem, and Deadpool and Wolverine. To me, those movies, the main reason I mentioned, whether it's Marvel, DC, or something else, they're highly rewatchable. To me, for a movie to be great, not just pretty good, it has to be highly rewatchable. Those are movies I bought on DVD or I am going to buy on DVD and rewatch from time to time. I rewatch the Dark Knight trilogy once a year. I rewatch Batman 89, Batman Returns once a year. The Batman I rewatch every 2 years. I don't think some of those movies that are recently going out, whether Marvel or DC, or the DCU, I'm going to rewatch. And for as much as people complain about the DCU, it's like, oh yeah, yeah. Now because James Gunn supposedly is an indie darling, supposedly we got to rewatch, basically revise what we think about the DCU. That basically, hey, every movie was a flop. Okay, Man of Steel wasn't a flop. It garnered a bit more money than Superman 2025, or just about as much. If one of them is a flop, the other one's a flop. So people, the Snyder Bros that said Superman 2025 was a flop, that would make Man of Steel a flop. Still, for people, the gun enthusiasm would say that basically Man of Steel 2013 was a flop. It's not. It was a modest hit. Batman vs Superman. Looking back, yeah, it wasn't that good of a movie, but like, look at this. It wasn't a flop either. It was just highly disappointing that it wasn't $1 billion, but it still made a lot of money. Wonder Woman was I think it was $1 billion hit, as well as Aquaman. They made Aquaman. I think Aquaman is with Wonder Woman are the two biggest hits of the DCEU, which should have saved both Aquaman and Wonder Woman from being rebooted. And then you had, yeah, Shazam was a modest hit, and yeah, Joker. Like all of these is still pretty impressive. Like let's just disregard and basically have our mindset of basically, hey, everything from DCU sucked. No, it doesn't. It didn't. And if we see what we basically, if we consider the Suicide Squad to be part of the DCEU because he doesn't want to reboot it, that was a flop. I liked it, but it was a flop. Supposedly Blue Beetle is going to come back basically, and he's part of the DCU universe. It was a flop. Superman 2025 was a modest hit, and Supergirl's probably going to be a flop. So 3 flops out of 4, technically, if you look at it that way in that universe. And that's because James Gunn, if we want to reboot, he could have rebooted also the Suicide Squad, but since he directed it, hey, never mind. So that's one counted. But most of these are not rewatchable. They're like basically what Joss Whedon did. Joss Whedon that are not project that are Firefly or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Avengers. Take away those concepts. Let's basically not have rose-colored glasses. Most of what he did at the same style, just Whedon had the same style. If it wasn't the case, if the guy was so good, how come most of his shows were canceled? If James Gunn is so good, how come most of his movies, of the 3 of the 4 movies I mentioned, either are box office bombs or are about to become one? And I will say this as at this, I really like James Gunn, the movie director, but not as the DCU head. That I don't want to see him as a DCU head. Because I think it's a disgrace that basically somebody can wear two hats rather basically, you know, wear two hats rather than one. At least if it's basically you gotta be Superman, then as Superman you're the director. But for every other movie, you're not director, but you don't impose style either. Give out bullet points of what you want for your movie, and that's it. So that's also one of my criticisms. Uh, sorry. Mm. Yeah, another critic that was saying about Supergirl is I think the movie's kind of boring and tedious, and it feels long despite it being an hour and 45 minutes. It felt long. The action scenes were fun, but was boring and tedious, and sometimes I could feel it was cheap, and it's like I could see the CGI basically bleeding across the screen. I mean, I know I watched Double Toasted on this one. Shout out the bad movie roast from Double Toasted, but sometimes it felt like, are you trying to be Supergirl or are you trying to be Shark Boy Lava Girl? Because some of the bad effects sometimes were seen there. And also the cope about what a movie could be good or not. About make a better movie and people come and flock. I mean, look at this year's Obsession. The movie Obsession to be a fun. Nobody really knew what to expect, and I bet you the first weekend it wasn't seen that much. But good to great word of mouth made sure that everybody flocked to the movie theater to see it. Even today, about Project Hail Mary. Sometimes people might not go to see it the first weekend, but they will the next weekend when maybe the seats aren't as packed, or simply because the next week they found out everybody tells them the movie's great. I mean, there's a reason when there's a huge drop off for scare movie or things like that because like many people went to see the IP the first weekend, everybody said, "Oh, that movie sucked or was disappointing. I'm not seeing it again," and they mentioned to their friends, loved ones, or the audience, "Don't go see the movie." That's why there's a huge drop off. But this movie was boring and tedious. Like I was looking at my watch, and it's like I started looking at my watch like 30 minutes in. That's not a good sign. Another default. Sorry, that's a French thing. Default, right? I may say another flaw of the movie. There's no other character apart from what I mentioned. Apart from Supergirl, Superman was barely in it, and Lobo was not barely in it, but like the same amount of time that Beetlejuice is in the Beetlejuice movie. Same thing with Lobo. And it was fun, but I kept thinking to myself, it felt like a Edge Lord character at times. Like, okay, this like is Jason Momoa cool? I still prefer Jason Momoa's acting as Aquaman as I did as Lobo. And again, the look of Lobo felt like straight out of the comic book, but there are a lot of problems. It felt like basically a Timu outfit of Lobo, rather than being Lobo adapted to the screen. And every other character sucks. Eve Ripley's character felt like a generic character, a generic NPC in a movie. The main villain's like one of the most boring villain ever in a superhero movie. Like the actor could be great. I don't know him that much. I wouldn't be surprised he's a very good actor, but this movie gave him nothing to do. And a superhero movie, one of the biggest strengths of a superhero movie is a great villain. Supergirl did the same thing as they did in Supergirl 1985 with faded away as an horrible villain. And guess what? I think it was worse in Supergirl 1985 because Fade Away is an excellent actress from Bonnie and Clyde Network, and they wasted her. This one, the actor didn't win an Oscar yet, but still felt like they wasted her. It just feels like the only thing I'd say about Supergirl is, hey, it's better than the one with Helen Slater. That's all I can say. But no interesting character of note. I can't tell you which other characters I was remembering. So, yeah. It felt generic. It felt like a generic movie. It wasn't slop. I didn't feel like it was slop, but it just felt like something generic that would have been produced. You know those movies basically in the early 2000s, basically, oh, there's great comic book movie, but then there's something in between that's just, fill in the gaps that's not that good. That's what it felt like. The problem with this is it's one thing if it was, I don't know, Squirrel Girl movie. It's like, okay, you could afford to have a Squirrel Girl movie be eh. You cannot afford to have Supergirl, which is supposed to be the equal to Superman, just be a blah movie. You can't. So yeah. Speaking of another thing I hate about James Gunn movie or get really tired of, if it's not the Guardian of the Galaxy, which made sense for Guardian of the Galaxy because it's a Peter Quill didn't grow up and actually had a Walkman with him. So I couldn't understand this was a soundtrack. He's using pop songs that he watches all basically probably listen to all the time, and let's put in the movie. Rather than have, an actual movie score. And let's be say that's not just DC, but we're talking about DC. Okay. John Williams, Superman 1 and 2. Danny Elfman, Batman 89, Batman Returns. How about Hans Zimmer for the old Dark Knight trilogy? Alan Silvestri for the Avengers. And I'm not sure for Michael Giacchino, I think was Iron Man. All of these. Or John DePrez for TMNT 90. Not mentioned enough, but it's mentioned it. Most of the movie happened to be the movie score. And it's great. Because it doesn't feel like you're trying to impose a mood. You're just presented it. You just had it in the movie. And this movie ain't it. Superman 2025, you would probably say, well, Damon, they did use John Murphy, who did a 28 Days Later score, which happened to be one of your favorite score ever. Yeah, it is. But all he did was reward John Williams' score, which felt, honestly, like somebody plagiarizing a paper, basically a paper, an essay. It's like, I'm just going to change this word, that's it. I didn't like that they did this. Say what you want about Man of Steel, but at least they had Hans Zimmer do a totally different score for Superman, create its own team, and I thought was perfect. There's no real score in this, it's just a soundtrack. And some movies I could see why, but this movie didn't. And then maybe there's people doing the soundtrack, the score, but there were barely moments where there were. There been like 3, 4 songs of the scores, and most of this were pop songs. Eh. Like, I'm tired of James Gunn style permeating every other movie in the DCU. How about James Gunn do his style for Superman and everybody else he lets them alone. Lets them cook by himself. Because I'm worried it's gonna be the same thing with Clayface now. So, and again, the last thing is there's no distinct style. You don't have the distinct style of Craig Gillespie. It feels like it strips him of any individuality he had from I, Tonya, from Cruella. Basically, it felt like there's no style like I, Tonya basically switching from I, Tonya basically telling basically to your how the story goes, basically some funny moments that were actually warranted in a biography. You don't have this in there. You don't have basically from Cruella's rise to basically why is she becoming the person she became. No, you don't see that. And I don't like this because it's like, okay, uh, why did Supergirl have an alcohol problem? Why did she solve it like that at the end? Like, you know, at least Iron Man in the bottle. Basically, there was a reason why the guy who basically mentioned that he was an alcoholic, blah blah blah. It was basically mentioned the first one, briefly touched on the second one though, but there was a reason. There wasn't a reason here. It felt like you want to adapt the Woman of Tomorrow comic, which I read, by the way. Was it great? No, it was good. But it was good. I didn't feel it was great. You could have basically done, inspire yourself from that and done something else. And that's the thing with the James Gunn universe. He's so concerned about comic book accurate that he doesn't realize that just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mean, Batman 89, Batman Returns are not comic book accurate. And they're beloved. Amazing Michael Keaton is considered one of the best Batman ever. Jack Nicholson as the I was gonna say the Nicholson Joker as Jack Napier is awesome. As Joker is awesome. Michelle Pfeiffer still a Catwoman. It's great. You have basically Penguin for most of the time. I really like Danny DeVito as a Penguin. Dark Knight isn't exactly basically a copy and paste edition or version of the comics. No, there's a lot of things that's taken from comics, but a lot of this adapted in their own world. And I think that's where it's gorgeous. So I didn't appreciate it as much at first. Matt Reeves' Batman, same thing. And I think it takes courage and it takes imagination. There's no imagination done in James Gunn. You just take the comic and voila, that's it. Oh, and by the way, something I just brought up. It's like all of this, it's like like I know I love dogs. Dogs are hilarious. They're just so affectionate. But is it me or is building up the DCU around a damn dog? Like at this point, I'm expecting Crypto to be the Sam Jackson, Nick Fury of the universe. Again, I love dogs. Whatever it is, doesn't mean I want basically to be always about the dog. Because here's his notes. It's like their dog is used as a gimmick. Like basically, hey, we're a plot device. Hey, how can I make a bad guy in a movie? Oh, right, right. Either kidnap or hurt a dog. It's lazy, you know? I'm not expecting for much from a movie, but I'm expecting a movie that actually hits some good notes and try to be original, and this movie ain't it. Supergirl could have been better, could have been much better, and written by an experienced seasoned scriptwriter could have been better. Or at least, if it has to be the same screenwriter, it should have been basically proofread by somebody else and basically take away basically the flaws of the script. Like basically proofread and discovered what could be improved upon. So my grade of Supergirl, I think I'm generous. I would say 6 out of 10. But 6 out of 10, I'm not going to rewatch it. Honestly, guys, I'm not going to rewatch it. I don't want to rewatch it. It's not rewatchable. And last point of view, because I don't want to go tangent, like I mentioned, every great movie I said basically they have to be rewatchable. What I didn't say before, they're rewatchable because you can rewatch them and you learn something every time and can enjoy it better. Godfather, you see some hints basically Vito basically uh portrayed more as a benevolent mobster compared to Michael Corleone. Corleone was a bad side of it. Same in Godfather 2, the difference between Vito and Michael Corleone. Dark Knight Trilogy, yeah, I've always mentioned it, and probably annoyingly so. But Dark Knight Trilogy, I mean, yeah, Batman Begins, okay? I remember when Batman Begins, the moment they discovered basically that Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon, or Ethan Gordon at that point, gives a jacket on, put a jacket on Bruce Wayne. You kind of hear a sound of music from Hans Zimmer that's only reused in The Dark Knight Rises when Batman basically goes to drop the bomb and then looks at the camera. And then it's kind of brilliant. It's like saying it's the beginning of Batman, and that song really signifies the moment that Bruce Wayne was finished with Batman. It's little things like that you appreciate better the second time, you know? Or the things with the Heath Ledger, or even Cillian Murphy's acting, Christian Bale's acting. Uh, American Pie. It's hilarious. Because a joke, there was a rumor, basically, I think it was Stifler was in the bathroom, and basically basically a girl was saying, there's a rumor that basically Stifler was with an older woman. I think it was Stifler's mom, which isn't hilarious then, but if you rewatch it afterwards, it makes you laugh, because it's like, it kind of foreshadowed what happened in the end. So it makes you laugh. There's some jokes that basically, hey, consider where the characters are at the end, it's hilarious. Naked Gun. There's some gags in the past that you basically in the background you don't see the first time, but the second time you're gonna see them and watch and find it more hilarious. Every great movie, in my opinion, is rewatchable. If your opinion is that movie is not rewatchable, it's great, but you don't have any desire to buy a DVD or rewatch again, then to me it's not great. And we need more great movies in the DCU. I have Aquaman on DVD. I have Wonder Woman on DVD. They're great movies. And to me, just because Aquaman 2 failed at box office, probably because James Gunn said they were going to reboot it anyway, or Wonder Woman 2 failed by the same time was during COVID, even though it's a crappy movie, doesn't grant you a right to just reboot Aquaman or Wonder Woman when this worked. That's the thing I think that basically is insulting people. It worked. Like, And even if it wasn't great amount of money that you generate, it doesn't mean you need to reboot it all the time. This is why people are getting tired. Because you're telling them this version, this one is the definitive version. But here's the problem. If Superman flops, and it probably will, what's your excuse then to not reboot it then? Because to me, you sound like a massive hypocrite then. What James Gunn means is as long as I do it, as long as it's my version. I'm thinking in that case, if you're talking about profitability and you're the boss, you're not exactly objective. You're subjective. And objectively, you can see that your way as a boss sucks too. Marvel worked because they took their time, but also they gave them some heart. They basically gave some trust to other people. You give people no trust, and that's what hurt the DCU. So I'll be letting go, guys, because I think I read enough. But if that's the effort that basically we're gonna get, I'm not really that enthused with the DCU. I hope Clayface proved me wrong, and Man of Tomorrow turns out to be as good as Superman 2 from Christopher Reeves. But right now, I wouldn't put my hopes up. Later, guys.